a Volkswagen T2 camper van. This is the one we almost finished for the customer, just waiting for a few bits to arrive and tidy up the electrics that are not needed from the old engine, but it's almost finished there. And but before I explain how we done everything and show you all the bits, let me show you something first. Let me just turn this phone around. This is it's a bit of mess here as usual, but this is the subframe or the cross member, however you want to call it. That is the jig to reproduce them, and this little thing, what it does, I'll maybe show you a couple of pictures when we build it. It holds the engine in place, the whole intercooler system, the whole exhaust system, and the radiator. So the beauty of that is you can bolt engine and gearbox and all this stuff on that cross member, and then slide everything from underneath of the car or the T2 chassis and bolt it on the standard engine mounts, all the engine mounts. So use the same mounts as the old subframe. It's not really a subframe, it's a cross member for the engine or whatever you want to call it, but you got the idea. Now, let me get a torch because it's pretty dark over there. It's on the ram so you can see it. See? It bolts with the standard pieces. This is very similar design, very simple. It's big stuff, okay, really strong. Turbo pipe. Is I'm not sure if you can see it that way. The map sensor welded in. This is the, there you go, turbo exhaust system, 180 degree. Goes back there. Top, not too close to the engine mount, otherwise we will melt it. Not too close to here. It's not gonna make any rattle noise. Bit of flexi, V-band, and a 3-inch silencer. It's not too it's not too loud or too quiet. It's actually enjoyable. Big intercooler is tied inside because obviously there's not much space inside this engine base. For now we've done this experimental drive shafts. So this side over here is Audi or Passat CV joint, and we've joined the two parts together because this side is a standard T2 Volkswagen CV joint. These are on a quite high angle, as you can see from now. It is still not on the limit, so it should be still in the safe angles limit for the CV joints, but if they fail in any case, then we know they're not good, and we're just gonna make, or well, get a company to make high angle CV joints with the whole shafts. You can see I've just welded them together with some big reinforcements. We've tested, I've done some, well, I can't say on the camera, but I've done a couple of burnouts with this already. It has plenty of torque to spin these tires, and they're sweet. So as for experimental shafts, they hold on pretty good so far. We'll see how they're gonna go, obviously during the time. Different shocks. These are actually from the Land Rover 1 series, front ones. They're slightly shorter, and what they do, they limit the travel from the wheel, because obviously if this wheel of this suspension will go lower, it may exceed the CV joints here and there maximum angle and could put them in trouble. Now the engine mounts, I've used the standard engine mount, as you can see, and added these braces there and there. So he uses all the standard chassis mounting points. And now this stuff is not pretty. I didn't refinish all the brackets or anything. You see, it's very raw, but it's durable. It's very strong. It's nothing pretty. I can make this much prettier, etc., etc. But the customer is the same. Hold on. He thinks the same way I think. I don't care how it looks like, especially underneath. What I care is it has to be strong and durable and reliable. This is my thing. My mind goes. Obviously, if the customer wanted something really neat and refinished, then yes, obviously we can make it nice and pretty and everything, just sweet. But not in this case, because it was not needed. So let's go to the gearbox. Gearbox, as you can see, this is the standard gearbox, but we flipped it upside down. Otherwise, obviously, the engine being the other way around mounted, it will go backwards when you select the first gear. We've gritted the clutch cylinder, because usually I have a plastic one. We put a metal one with the metal fittings. The gear selector has been modified. This is upside down. It goes all the way down here. It's got a joint here. This is actually an old steering column for a Jeep Grand Cherokee. We adapted. This is the slide, because obviously this slides forward and back and goes around to select the gears, and goes up to here, where we actually used the same car, the same donor car, the Passat 6-speed selector inside the floor. This is a Tilton 1/8 of an inch big. Works out perfectly on the rose joints, and everything is durable and proper. These are the matrix heater hoses, brings the hot water from the engine to the matrix. So now you don't have just the hot air blowing out from the engine and use air cooled. You got the proper matrix. But I'll show you everything underneath, and then we go upstairs. Well, I'm not even going upstairs. I'm gonna lower the car and show you the matrix. Again, it's pretty dirty over there. You still have to tidy up after the work we've done. The beam, we installed you can see this one and the one on the top. This you can select various positions. This is the key to lower these cars, so you can lower them or raise them or whatever you want to do once you got this fitted. It's a fairly simple job to do them, but you have to strip down everything. You have to remove the whole beams, the whole suspension, put on the bench, and then work on it. This is the electrics. Electrics go inside there. A friend of mine doing electrics for me a few last bits. He didn't put these wires inside that shield, so I have to do it now, because that's what they're supposed to do, carry all the wiring inside, so these have no place to be here outside. As you can see, a lot of zip ties, just zip tie everything tight so it can touch. Everywhere where the rubber is in contact with the chassis or any metal bits, there's another reinforcement or protective bit, obviously, to don't make this rub directly on the metal. And the zip ties, obviously, to be honest, if you get everything tight, there's no movement, they're not gonna rip off. But this is the heater inside. He's got a gas heater. This is, I think, the intake, and there was no, sorry, that was the intake, and this is the intake, which you can see is still hanging down, so we have to connect it somewhere. Yeah, there you go. And this is the exhaust from it. Again, we have to make it go somewhere else, because obviously you can see these are fuel lines and the electrics, and the exhaust, this exhaust goes pretty hot, so we want to avoid any surprises. We have to remove it from that side. This is the other shaft. See how ugly it is? Yeah, it may be ugly, but it works, so that's what we want. Fuel lines. This is the sensor for the engine temp. A fuel filter, etc, etc. What else? There's nothing much going on in here. This is a kind of an arm reinforcement that bolts to the gearbox in 3-4 points, and then it's pretty long. It's like a traction bar, you can call it, or whatever you like it. And it's got a bush over here, and it's mounted to the chassis. What this does, it stops the engine from going forward and back when you accelerate or brake. And the reason for that is because the Passat and the Audi, this part here, so is the gear selector, it actually slides up and back. Sorry, up and back. Oh, fucking pile of bullshit. It slides forward and back, and is mounted actually to the gearbox. So when the gearbox, hold on, let me do it this way. Turn the light off. So when the gearbox moves with the engine forward and back, the whole selector moves with it. Otherwise, when you got the gear selector, for example, the first gear, and the engine will move forward and back, you may remove the lever from the selected gear. So there was two possibilities. There was two ways to do this: get this selector sliding, like on the Passat or Audi, but that will involve a massive, obviously, big length through the whole length of the car, from the back, from the engine to the selector here. Something to move it forward and back, and then it will be complicated, etc., etc. And the second solution was to stop the engine from going back and forth. Obviously, that traction arm, that's how I call it. You can call it whatever you want. It lets the engine to vibrate, to have some movement, to eliminate vibrations on the engine mounts, on the bushes. No problem. So there's no vibrations to the body. But it stopped the engine from moving forward and back, and the gear is working fine, absolutely perfect now. So achieved. And this solution is more cost effective because it's much cheaper. There are less engineering or parts to be burned involved, and it's simpler. I like the simple way to do this stuff. Even sometimes if it looks ugly, but it works much better than the nicest stuff, that's the way I want to go. Because obviously this thing have to work. This guy have to travel with this thing, and eventually if something happens, if something breaks, he have to be able to fix it on his own. At least that's the way I do this stuff. So yes, get the light. I think we got everything covered. There is no, usually there is a shield here to protect everything here. We didn't put it on, but because we still have to put a small water pump in line with this, with one of these two lines, because the water flow is not enough from the water pump on the engine to flow all the water all the way from the back to the front. So you put a small water pump to have the flow. I think you've seen everything from this side. This is the radiator on the back with 3 fans, small hatches, so it doesn't look standard at all from the back, obviously. And okay, let me lower it down, and I'll show you. It looks like inside. Right, so let's go inside. This is pop-up roof. This actually goes on this side, and it's pretty tall. It's pretty big inside. I'm actually going to open later on. Nothing to do with my job, but I want to see it. I want to show you how cool it is. I never looked at these fans before. I never liked them, but now as I'm working on one, I actually like it. It's got some spirit. Let me get the torch. So what we have here, standard clocks. This one here is the temp. Actually, let me turn it on so you can see it. There you go. Engine temp today is pretty cold, you can see, and this car was already working today. I mean, it was running, so it's about 1 or 2 degrees. This is the fuel gauge. Sorry, the fuel gauge, the oil pressure gauge. Apologize for the bullshit. Now, oh, this is the metrics. Now, as I say, there's still a lot of mess over here. It works pretty good, and it's plugged there, because as you can see through the big pipe. So because they have like a 4 ports over here that you can run them separately, but what we did, we joined them into one pipe and then just straight into the existing system. So it was fairly easy job to do, and the way it works is just turn the ignition on, and the beauty is all of this works as standard, because obviously we just use the standard system. Turn the ignition off, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Flowers and other stuff. It's got some story behind it. Look at the dash. He loves it. or maybe his wife. Probably his missus. So let's go up and on this side. I'm gonna go open the side door and show you inside. I'm actually liking this. Pretty cool. And as I said, really mind, we're still finishing some wires. And let me turn the lights on. Oh, nice and bright. We like this. We like it. Actually, there's another. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So this is the rock and roll bed. Obviously, it's open now. He's got his heater here, which is not mounted at the moment. This is the electrics we've done. Again, we still have to put everything in order. As you see, his fuse is disconnected from this plate because we was checking yesterday some of the stuff. We had the problem with the boost control. It was reading 2.5 bar of boost all the time from the map sensor, and it was not reading the engine temperature sensor to the ECU. So obviously ECU thought, okay, we have lots of pressure, a lot of air, and it was struggling to put them up. It was overfueling and etc, etc. And at the beginning I thought maybe I fucked something up with the wires, maybe I've done something wrong, etc, etc. But we actually check all the wires, all the ECU pin out and then the sensors pin out, and it's everything there. There's nothing wrong with the wires, nothing wrong with what we've done, and I generally think who've done the ECU, because we send the ECU to get the immobilizer removed. That way we can remove all the standard clocks and probably like 5-6 kilograms of wires that are not needed, and they put a map on it, and obviously they interfere with the map sensor reading and the engine temperature reading as well. So I believe they may not finish something, or something went wrong there, so we have to send this ECU and check it again because the wiring is correct. Another thing we have here, as you can see, is this. Let me put it this way. Here we got a fuel filter and the fuel pump. Now the fuel filter and the fuel pump are from the BMW 330 diesel. There is no need for them, to be honest, because the fuel tank sits above the engine, and the fuel feed, it is enough just from gravity. But because this van was stood for a long time, ages, etc, etc, I fitted this because he wanted as like a fuel priming system. If he runs out of fuel or whatever, this engine they shouldn't have no problems with. But peace of mind, fuel pump, if you want to switch it on to pyramid or whatever, I don't know, just in some cases maybe give you a hand. You may never need it, but you want it there. However, we use this anyway at the beginning because I put this massive filter in the pump, because obviously the fuel tank is pretty old, and I was just worried that there are some bits inside, some dirt, etc, etc. So we ran this system over here, but again it's not needed. I just disconnected the pump and the van runs completely sweet, but it's there if you want to use it. Also we have this little boy here. This is OBD2 Bluetooth reader. So what you can do, you can just connect the phone with the app. Usually they're for free, or like really fancy ones, they cost like £2-3, and you can run full diagnostics on the ECU, delete the codes, you can see the engine temp, lots of stuff, almost everything. You got almost full access to the ECU, not completely, but main things. So yeah, this is how it looks like inside. Once this is obviously cleared up, it's pretty nice and clean. Now obviously all the fuel lines you see, it's got a rubber protection around. These are electrics going through. We use the standard rubbers. Hold on, you can't see it with this light. Let me make more. You can see all the standard ones from the Passat. So there's no rubbing, there's no risk of wires cutting or going in contact with the chassis, with the body, or anything like this. So yeah, this is pretty sweet. I like it. I like it. This is his heater controller. Okay, he's got a gas bottle over there. This is pretty sweet. Let me open this one. Let me open it. I'm sure he doesn't mind. Lose this one. Lose this one as well. Let me just put the phone this way. I think that's enough. There you go. What a beauty, eh? Look at me. Now, okay, alright, I'm gonna show that. I'm 176, sorry. I wish I have 186. 176, I'm not really tall. I'm actually pretty short. But look how much space I got there. So even two ones, I mean, a friend of mine gives me a hand in the workshop, and he's pretty tall. You can fit in no problems. Now, in my opinion, there should be a bed over here. Somehow, I don't know, just put it on, or I don't know. However, for two people, no, absolutely not, because obviously you got the rock and roll bed there, and you put it on, and that's enough. But if you travel with kids, yeah, one bed here for kids, or one kid, and parents, you with your missus and wife, just goes down there. And this is perfect. I love it, and I love it because you're pretty much sitting just behind the front windscreen. I mean, there's nothing there. I mean, in front of your legs, you got what, 20-30 centimeters of space between the front of the car, and then that's it. And obviously the engine, because is on the floor, is behind there, and the bed goes on the top of the engine. All the space is actually used. So this van is pretty small outside, and it's fairly spacious inside. I really like it. I really enjoy doing this car, especially now 1.9 TDI. I think this is mapped to about 160, 170 brakes once we have the ECU done right, because obviously it doesn't read the map sensor. This would be nice and sweet. We've calculated on the 6th gear, this van is supposed to do about 70-75 miles per gallon.